Hello. My name is Tony Chin-Quee.
And I'm Mei Hardin.
And I'm Ryan Montoya.
Weird. It's like he lives in our basement now. But welcome to Social Rounds, the podcast in which two of the happiest surgeon dropouts you'll ever meet, plus Ryan, will give our unsolicited opinions on the states of medicine, the world at large, pop culture, and whatever else we happen to find interesting.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Sorry, Ryan. And he is a doctor. He's not a surgeon, and he hasn't dropped out. He does it, but he's like he won't leave. He's just here. And we appreciate him, and we won't force him out on the streets. But first of all, I want to wish you both a happy 2026. Can you believe it is right now at this moment in our timeline, 2026? Hooray! How does it feel, guys?
Feels great. Feels great. Feels great to bookend. So I got to be the last part of 2025, start of 2026. I already feel different, feel better, feel taller. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
You are taller. Yes.
Can I start with a statistic that I found startling? Okay, so I'm a short guy.
Why do you have these ready?
No, it's because I was helping set up an EHR at my last job, and so we were looking at the thing that shows your percentile for height and weight, right, and your BMI. And so as a demo, I put in my height and my weight and my age, and I know I'm a short guy. Tony, we haven't met in real life. Mei, we have, so you can attest to this. But I'm 5'1", okay. And
Mei just like rests her coffee on your head. And
well, yeah. When we met, it looked like an exclamation point, right? Like it was just like. Anyway, I put my data into the EHR, and it says that my height, I'm 5'1", that my height for an adult American male is in the 0 percentile. The 0 percentile. Okay, for people listening who do not understand what that means
you're not
you
on the
don't understand
graph.
statistics.
It means
like
I am taller than 0% of
You are
the adult
only
American
one
male population.
of that height.
It's technically 0.14%. That means I am shorter than 99.86% of adult American males. Anyway, I'm putting that out there. So
wow,
I feel
justice
taller.
for Ryan, though, because I don't, having met you in real life, that 0 percentile, 0th percentile feels harsh. Like that's not, I was not thinking that.
I'm not I can't think of anything else I'm 0% in. Like, I can't imagine. I bet I have more percentage like Swedish in me than my height compared to other adult American males. But anyway, I found it a fascinating statistic. So if any of the male listeners are around 5'1", sorry, buddy, you're in the 0 club.
They're not.
You're in the 0 club.
Or if they're exactly. By definition,
by definition,
what's the likelihood?
It's lonely at the top. It's lonely at the bottom.
It's lonely at the top and the bottom. That's ultimately the lesson.
Yeah, that is tough. I wonder where on the scale of American women you are, Mei. Like how many?
Oh, you got to be in like the 99th percentile.
What's the percentile?
6 foot club.
6 foot club.
While you're talking,
in America,
I'm gonna try and
yeah, you can look it up, Ryan. Just 6'0" flat for a adult American woman.
Okay.
I will say that if I could, I would be like 6'3". I think that's like the dream female height.
So you're looking at people who are 6'3", and you're like, I want to get there.
Oh, I'm pretty deep in like WNBA TikTok.
Wow.
That's.
You are a good size for WNBA
for sure.
Like being a 6-footer is actually
no. Then I'd have to be fast.
WNBA,
I guess, which I'm not.
There are plenty of players like impact players who are like 5'6" and 5. Like being a 6-footer, you're squarely in the mix.
If your ball handling is good.
Mei, I do not want to give the impression that I plan this. According to this online calculator, you are in the 0 percentile for women.
Let me ask you a question. Do you have to like press the C or the CE button on that calculator? Like,
exactly.
Is it working? What's going on? Is it one of those solar calculators?
What do you mean I'm 0?
Sorry,
you mean
percentile.
You mean I'm 100?
99.97 percentile. Yeah, so you're the opposite end of me.
Yeah, don't try to put me in the 0 club. Ryan's like, anyway, we're all zeros here.
Easy. There's nothing wrong with the 0 club, which we just said.
No. This is great. Frances May, you got the top of the mountain. I'm the bottom of the mountain. Tony, you're somewhere in the
I'll
middle.
tell you,
Tony's
you
giving
just
me
found
mean
out,
eyes.
Ryan, you just found out some things about what they think about you at the top.
Correct.
They
The
were
top
like,
of the mountain. They're looking down like,
put
don't
me at
ever
the-"
confuse
Yeah, I was
me
like,
with
do
a
not
0%.
get it. Do not get it twisted. Put some respect on my name. I'm 100%.
99.97%.
99.97?
Yeah,
Wow.
That
you are
rocks.
taller than almost 100% of the population.
I
for
will
your,
say,
for your
with that.
gender and age. Yeah.
no,
I'm with that.
point well taken. Tony metaphorically, virtually slapped my hand for being shady to Ryan just now.
I just
which
want some
I
decorum here, guys.
No,
Just a
I
little
like
bit.
this.
And I
like it.
will say, to Ryan's credit, and honestly, I have many friends who are in the 4'11" through
Yeah.
5'2" club. There is a real like scrappiness and genuine skill and ease that comes from people at that height. Like honestly, they're probably like the best interpersonal skills you will ever see in your life. Probably an evolutionary mechanism.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, for sure.
I can't
That's the only
be-
way to survive and get some of
you
the
know,
Can't be
yeah.
boring.
Yeah,
You can't.
well, like,
yeah.
Yeah, and like you can't be ungracious at that height. Like
Correct.
so
Correct.
again, some of the best people that I know, like literally the smartest, most well liked, most popular. I do see that, and I acknowledge that, and I definitely want Ryan to get his flowers where those are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's my flowers don't come. First of all, I appreciate that. My flowers don't come in those sorts of comments. They come every single time I get onto a current American airplane and I see how small the seats are, and I'm like, okay, if my knees are touching the seat in front of me, I don't know what a normal sized person has to do, but I'm thankful that
They're
at least
struggling.
in this, yeah. I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I can fit in modern airplanes.
Well, guys, that's this. I would really enjoyed learning all this, and I feel like, honestly, in my life, I've lived on both sides of the spectrum. Not at 0 and not at 99.97. But I was a short kid. I was short until I was like 4'11" until about sophomore year of high school.
Oh, really?
Right? And then I got tall, and now I'm 5'11".
You're 5'11". Oh,
yeah.
man.
So while I was short, though, I had to develop little man skills, because that was hormone time, right? That was teenage time. Like I was spitting at some lady, like trying to get girlfriends, go out on dates and stuff, and I had to have some personality, because those fucking growth spurt dudes did not have to try for shit. And I had to be like interesting. I had to have jokes. I had to have cultural knowledge to like pull people in, to like just chat it up, because I was the little guy. And so I value those lessons. It makes me grateful for that time I spent down there, and I also like the time I spend up here. It's pretty fun. But my wife always
miss
like
you, bro.
says
we
like,
miss you.
yeah, in her mind, she's always like, you're not some little skinny kid anymore. You're like a big guy. And I was like, hey man, I don't know what to tell you. Man, I'm small
up here.
I'm small up here. I'm small up here. That's it. All right, great. We're doing great, guys. Happy New Year. Anyway, we're starting our first segment, which is, of course, Social Round. So this is where we'll become your life attendings, because it's become abundantly clear that many of you out there are in desperate need of guidance, and we've got the kind of wisdom that only comes from running out of fucks. And this week's question, we're going to get into this because, I think it's time. How do you do social media as a medical student or a medical trainee? And I know that like most people are smart about this sort of thing. Like back in my day and Ryan's day, like Frances May is a few years younger than us. I don't know if this applies to you, but when it was time to go on your interviews or stuff, we'd like switch our Instagrams, our Facebooks to private, like maybe change our Instagram handles so we weren't like easily searchable, all that stuff. But times have changed now. Like these Gen Zers and stuff, they feel like they shouldn't have to do any of that, that they should be appreciated for who they are and who they present themselves to be online. But that shit can still be fraught with unforeseen landmines and consequences, because guys, you're dealing with the medical establishment full of old Luddites. So it can be problematic. So I want to speak both to the normies who are just out there, living their normal lives and offer advice to them. But I also, in particular, want to offer advice to those of you who fancy yourselves online personalities. Like those of you out there who have brands and fancy yourself some sort of influencer or something like that. Because we want to give y'all some advice too. Because I think what you're doing may not actually be serving you in your career in the way you think it is. And maybe we're going to come off as like old people yelling from the porch here. But I got some thoughts that they may not like. It may be spicy. I don't know. But we can start like Francis May. You got a lot of experience, you know, in the social media space because it's kind of your job. And you've had run-ins with folks who are doing this sort of shit and, you know, folks who are doing it right, folks who are doing it wrong. So I want to give you the opportunity to kind of big sis these kids out here and let them know what time it is, you know, when they're being chronically online.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I can't wait for your turn where based on your intro, you're going to be giving like old man yells at cloud.
Yes.
So personally, full disclaimer, I definitely do not consider myself a Medfluencer now, and I don't even consider myself an online personality. Like I said, you can't even catch me on my phone the first half of the day anymore because I hate it. But that being said, I think that Tony brings up an interesting point. When I was interviewing, it was that way. Everything private. Like, it's a liability. I mean, I brought up one real personality dimensional aspect of myself, which was being signed to a modeling agency and working on interviews. And I regret that. Like, multiple people have told me, oh, in hindsight, you should have hidden that. And that was just a job. That was just like an offline actual job and skill set. That being said, the times are different. The way that I would advise anybody, just understanding that it's not like I have a trove of experience or an expert, my personal opinion is that I'm pro social media. I definitely I think that it's wonderful. I think that people who know who they are and then they can build a personal brand around that, wonderful. Especially in like the modern era of being a physician, it does not hurt to like diversify. So I think that that's all great. What's interesting, obviously, like with Tony and I coming from this like surgical specialty background, like a really competitive surgical specialty, I think that the more competitive ones will judge you like more harshly. Interestingly, plastic surgery and derm, they may be more progressive in that regard. Hey, it's normal to have social media. It's normal to share your journey. But I mean, some of the more competitive ones, exactly. I mean, here's how I view it though. If I could go back, I probably would have had social media sooner because I never ever had it until I was pretty much finishing up being an attending that was public. I would work backwards from who am I as a person and what do I want out of life? Because I never asked either one of those two questions, had no clue what the answers were, and that's kind of how I got so mixed up, right? Like I just picked a really competitive, prestigious specialty. It's not uncommon back at the time like that I trained and mentors I had. It was just kind of like see where your board scores fall, and if they're high, like then just go for the highest thing that you can. And like then a lot of people ended up in competitive specialties like just from that logic, not like okay, I see myself here in my 40s. I could not picture what it was like to be in my 40s. I was like, I don't even think I'm going to live that long. So I was not coming from it that way. But here's what I will say. People like, I think of Gnome Raider. She's a Canadian doctor who I always thought did it very, very well. She's a family medicine doc, and she had a social media presence when she was applying to residencies. And she told me, yeah, this impacted my decision to go into family med, number one, because like just in general, they were more accepting. They were early adopters of you can totally be online and be a family med doc. Plus the schedule was amenable. She was literally like going from clinic or the hospital, quick change, red carpet that night in Toronto. Like she was doing that stuff. I just think did it very well, professional the whole time, well liked the whole time. And increasingly, I think Gen Z, like they can pick the specialty, like pick the job that's going to fit what you want in life. Your job is not your whole life. But then, of course, there will be young people who are like, literally my only goal in life is to become a cardiothoracic surgeon. I don't care about building a personal brand. I don't care about personality. Well, if I was helping that person do their calculations, I would probably say, well, then this might open up like some risk for you and not benefit you, because you don't have to have social media to become a cardiothoracic surgeon, or you could always do it and do it in a way where you don't share work-life balance. You just like show a little bit behind the scenes of the process of becoming a surgeon. And like even then there's always going to be naysayers and things like that, but it's all about like risk benefit. And I'm very interested in how young people these days, it isn't all about just matching into the most competitive specialty for most of them. It's just like, okay, this is a job. I'm going to treat it like a job in my very rich three-dimensional life.
Oh, Ryan, say something. I got some thoughts.
Okay, so Frances May covered a lot of ground, a lot of good ground. I agree with what she's saying. I think one of the strongest points, if I were a young, med student, or even like an early physician in training as a resident right now, you have to ask yourself what you want to do. Okay, so if you want to go into competitive specialty, competitive subspecialty, if you're going into a buttoned up field in a buttoned up area, in a buttoned up hospital network, just read the room. Okay, like if you know that's going to be the case, it's not right, but you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't go wild online and be like, well, why aren't people taking me seriously? Everything, the internet is written in ink; it's not in pencil. Okay, so this is just like common sense, and it might be a little bit harder for people to realize if they only grew up in the era of the internet, but there was a time before the internet where it's like most of those people can understand the difference between digital life and non-digital life. But that said, I don't want to be kind of exclusionary. So I think what you said, Frances May, about what do you want to get out of it is very important in prescience. Whether it's family medicine or some other kind of like more accepting field, if your goal is, I need to build a personal brand because this needs to be a supplemental source of income, it's what I'm passionate about, and I have to do it because this is like really, really what I want to do with my life, it sounds like you've made the decision already, okay? I know as a former employer who would hire people, we would scour the internet for everything about this person. Okay. And if it was not me, it was someone else. So just know that this is the reality. I do not believe it will change. It's not like when people get more accepting, they'll stop looking. In fact, I think it'll happen more easily, or you can get AI to do it and come up with these profiles very easily. So just know that that's the reality. And if you're fine with that, risk reward ratio, then go for it. I personally, because that would not be my goal. I would not be interested in creating like a personal brand or something that's distinct from what I pursue in terms of like my comic art career. I don't have to make that decision, but I understand for people right now who, living your life online is just life online. I mean, it's just life right now. Like that's how it is. So much of our life is online. How much you want people to know, how much you want to kind of play close to the chest is up to you. It generally behooves you, if you don't know the answer, to play it close to the chest and then reveal it later. Unless you're like, I'm not going to hit certain X level of income stream unless I start right away at the beginning of residency and build up my follower account. That is up to you, but I know I'm like both sidesing it. I just don't know if you can have like a one size fits all answer for this one.
Here's what I think. I think that there's kind of this epidemic of people thinking that, it's okay for me to just be myself out on the internet. And there will be no consequences because the world is fair, right? Because guess what? The fuck is the truth. The world is not fair, and medicine's really unfair. And
very traditional.
If you think that the way people are going to respond to you is in a rational and perhaps progressive way to respond to anything that you do in that way, this ain't that field. Okay. Like that's not what they do. And so, you don't, the way I see a lot of these folks using it, especially the folks who are like influencers who are med students, kills me. Seeing influencers who are residents, it fucking kills me, because like they're doing this in a way that they think is going to benefit them professionally. Where the gatekeepers of their profession, whether they're cool, whether they seem cool or not, they're probably not as cool as you think. Like you guys talk a lot about like, oh, maybe the more accepting specialties, family medicine, No, don't make that assumption. That is an unsafe assumption to make.
That's fair.
That just because they're family medicine, they're okay with you, like being a family medicine, social media doctor. Like, I'll tell you one thing, like you doing all that content, just like I said last time, you better not get no questions wrong.
Correct. You better get 100% on your pimping
You got time
session,
to make videos? You better be studying and be done. with your study and not getting nothing wrong, because they're going to be judging you for your work ethic. That's one thing. But yes, Francis, my God.
Well, and I, of course, was not saying family med everywhere. Just like, I think statistically, you probably have a better shot playing the slots there.
I'm going to rant a little bit more. Okay. Second thing.
Part
two is, guys, your behavior, though you feel it is maybe your brand is super positive or you have like righteous intentions, they're not always going to come across that way to the decision makers in your world. For example, if you are a resident who decides to take up a cause online, because and to do that, you're dunking on someone else. You're hating on them. You're trying to dig up dirt and be like, I disagree with them. And guess what? They are liars too. Guess what? Yeah, you're making your point. But what are you teaching the people you work with about the type of person you are? Those people are paying attention not just to what's online, but like, do I want to work with this fucking person right here who gets vindictive online at like tiny slights? Like, give me a break. I don't want that in my life. But but people aren't thinking that far ahead. That's why we're telling, like, you gotta think about what the how other people are seeing you, not just the way you want to be seen, because this world is not fair.
Yeah, I think heavy on the unfair. I definitely fully agree with you there. What I wanted to say is this very interesting phenomenon in response to your first point, part 2 of the rant. It is that I have seen this, like I've seen it firsthand for a couple different people. And we're not going to name anyone, but like this is an interesting phenomenon, which is where a resident is creating. They are public, they're online, they're creating. They get the backlash exactly like what you're describing, especially on the surgery side. Like just, oh, okay, like, and then you weren't perfect in the OR, yet you had time to make these little videos and blah, blah, and shut down your social media account. So that person's targeted. They are treated poorly, like literally because of some of this public persona. What's interesting is that then if you hit it big, it can have a protective effect. Like literally, there are some trainees out there who would say, thank God I made it, because then my department like fucked with me less.
Too many eyes on you, if there's retribution, then you have like a
this
big
will
megaphone.
Be a national story if you really come after me now. So it's very interesting, and I'm obviously not saying go play this game, but there is
who's gonna
an
play
interesting.
Because like you're like 1 in a million if you can do that. The rest of us are going to be out of a job or just real sad for several years.
No, that's true. Had I made a public Instagram and been trying to hit this during my personal residency experience, 100%, I would have just been delivering them stuff to try and get rid of me.
Right.
I wouldn't have hit it big, so I just would have delivered basically evidence against me. They would have used it against me. I'm gone. But it's so funny because if you hit it big though, there is such a thing as like getting bigger than the institution you're at, and then they just can't even afford a national headache.
And you better, I'll tell you what, you better make it so big that no one needs to hire you anymore.
I know.
Because, like this institution, this profession will blackball you so fucking fast. Like you embarrass that institution, everybody knows what your fucking name is. And they're not going to hire you for a job to make that doctor money that you say you spent your life working towards. So, I hope that influencer life is not, flimsy.
First of all, Tony, great rant. You're going to be a great father. I feel like I got dressed down at like I'm one of your kids. This is great.
Good. That's what I was going for.
I think I have a story about an experience from one of my mentors. So I worked in correctional health in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. And one of my mentors, really great guy, good friend. He's openly gay, but was not openly gay as an internal medicine doc until like the early 2000s. And after I got to know him, told him about like what I was interested in, my artistic influences, blah, blah, blah. He opened up to me. And so he performs in drag shows. Okay. And he's like, this was a long time ago, but just then the idea, the kindling of people having online personalities and what should they do, what should they share, et cetera, et cetera. He said it's almost easier for him and his decision because he's like, as in drag, you create another personality and it's quite obvious. It's a character. right? This is not you. This is a character you're playing. You have costumes, you have jewelry, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not immediately apparent to any online personalities or people reading online personalities that that is a different person. It could be, it could approximate the real person, but there's always some level of kind of code switching. Whereas in drag, that's a character. That person cannot be held accountable for that character's acts and, you know, things like that. It's vaudeville. And so, in a perfect world where people understand the you know the difference between the two, that's great. But as Tony said, this is real life. This is real work. People are looking. When I was working on hiring people, we are on the single monitor computer and we're looking at this person's social media profiles, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. And I couldn't say anything. I'm like the only man working at this job. Okay, this is Planned Parenthood. And also, I'm the only non-Black person working at this job. And so I didn't say a word, right? This is like an HR violation when it happened. But I'm looking, and this candidate is dressed so inappropriately. And like just all these pictures of her out in the club and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm not saying anything. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And
so she's dressed appropriately for the club, though.
No, not even for the club. It looks like she might have been kicked out of some of these clubs based on what she was wearing, like dental floss, basically. Okay, the point is this: I didn't say a word.
The pictures were from the sidewalk outside the club.
I don't know. Yeah, she was, and you know, pictures of her like dead drunk and blah blah blah. That's fine. That's her personal life. However, the other C-suite executives who were with me, they're like, this woman, we cannot hire her. Look at that weave. Look at it, like saying all this stuff I could never ever say, obviously. And I'm like, oh my God, like they were brutal. It's all women. You're talking about another woman. They're all Black, talking about another Black woman. And it was just like, if anyone out there thinks it's protective, it's like, well, you know, if other people identify the same way I do, maybe I'll be protected that way. I thought they were even more brutal, if that's possible. All of this is to say, it's out there. There's no real a measuring stick for how people are going to react, but it's probably going to be better to err on the safer side.
We'll say, like, you know, in defense of this poor woman, I have been known to wear dental floss looking outfits out on the streets. It is different if this person's like sitting behind a receptionist desk naked. Like, agreed. I mean, I do dress differently for professional context versus, but this was the whole medkini.
No, I agree. And I think that almost proves the point, which is to say it's completely unfair to judge people who are wearing something that's probably appropriate in that context, but they're applying and they posted it online, and that's the way people are interacting with this information.
But let me play devil's advocate further, because now I'm enjoying fighting both of you guys. I like to disagree with you, and I feel that I have a point, which is that maybe that girl, the applicant in this scenario, sounds like she didn't get the job. Sounds like she dodged a bullet. It actually sounds like if she was acting in accordance to her values and she was being true to herself and she doesn't want to work with people who don't align with her values, that actually sounds like a perfect I was really upfront about who I am. You absolutely hated it. That sounds good. We should not work together in any capacity.
Yeah. I mean, she hopefully went on to a job that appreciated her trash ass weave. And, you know, I think all parties are better for it. Great. And also, you know, good situational awareness from Dr. Montoya in that room to not jump in on the conversation.
Fucking shut.
Those are the guys. Those are the sorts of things you learn as 5'1" man. Like, you know when it's not time to talk in this room of Black women. Okay, you got to wrap that up. Okay, so let's get into our next segment, which is news. So this is where we give our rapid fire takes on news and medicine out in the real world. And this week we're talking about libido. We're bringing the sex back, and specifically advances in meds that help women's libido. So, as you may have guessed, there's no paucity of medical options for the decreased libido in men. You know, the main one is just like juice us up with testosterone and just make us like, just make us feel like a man and shit, and, you know, remind us we're on the planet to mate, and we just do that. But women absolutely experience low libido as well, especially at certain biological times in their lives. And you can't exactly like juice them up with estrogen. Like, it's like doing that would not make women want to mate. It like would make them feel fucking miserable in a lot of different ways. But help is on the way, because the FDA has just approved a new drug. I believe it's pronounced Addy. spelled ADDYI, for treatment of decreased libido in menopausal and post-menopausal women. This is not a hormonal drug, okay? So it works directly on the brain, increases dopamine and serotonin levels, and gets you like nice and horned up, which is super great because menopause and post-menopause are really tough times for the libido in women. And it's high time the issue was treated with the same urgency that we treat low libido in men. So, Francis May, Ryan, I want to talk about libido.
Yeah. And so, okay, well, the first thing I'll say is biologically, this is, people have talked about this before. This is not an original idea. They came up with drugs for men with erectile dysfunction and low libido very quickly, and there was a cottage industry, and it just took forever for women. Same thing with like, there's still a relative paucity of medications and treatment for, dysfunctional uterine bleeding, all these things that are very, very common. When endometriosis was like a quote unquote new discovery, it's not new. It's been around forever.
They were being hysterical for
correct. They're being hysterical.
All of history.
They're being hysterical, right? And so this is awesome. This drug is awesome. On anything else in our arsenal to help in the post-menopausal phase, or just in general for women with low libido, I'm very, very for it. And this is like a no-brainer. I'm curious whether the market will take to it. And a lot of that has to do with kind of the changing winds of national opinion, right? So like the way that people have, or the way that hospitals have built up support for people who suffer miscarriages or spontaneous abortions, is because the winds of change and like socially became more acceptable to talk about it. But for a while, there wouldn't even be routine care for miscarriages because people are just like, oh, this is just something you don't talk about. It happens at home. Often when women are on the toilet and you just don't mention it again. Okay. And so like, I'm curious whether or not this will at least spur more discussion about women saying like, I do not want to have sex because it's a biological thing, because I've stopped having kids and I've stopped breastfeeding, and I'm in the perimenopausal phase. Like all of these things are not talked about with any kind of reasonable regularity and with intellectual honesty. So I'm hoping that is one of the major side effects of this. The other is, if this just came out, like, I don't know what kind of price barrier this is going to be. This will probably be rich people's drug first.
Well,
and then,
I did look it up. It said because
yeah.
it'll be like an indicated drug, because right now a lot of people use it off label.
Correct.
And so
yeah,
people have had to pay a lot for it. But
Yeah,
now, once it gets approved in this way, people will, it'll be cheaper.
Yes. Okay, good. Yeah. So
GoodRx can get it to $300 for 30 tabs.
300. Okay. I think it's worth it.
So, you think it's worth it? It's got to be worth it. Listen, this is a big thing because just like we were saying, like men are supposed to be horny all the time. That's the thing, and if we're not, or if we perceive that we're not, or if we have, self-esteem issues that make us think, well, we should be more horny than we are, and all that stuff, then, there's options. Because we have accommodated that and decided that's important over the years. But in general, in our Western society, women are not supposed to want to have sex. There's all sorts of problems with that. Like if you're a woman who embraces all that stuff, embraces all those sides of her, then, there's all sorts of names we can call you. You know what I mean? All that sort of thing. And that stuff, we like to think we're getting more progressive, but it's slow going. And so a lot of folks have internalized, both sides of these arguments. There's women who feel like, God, I can't imagine the barrier, the emotional barrier to even bringing this up in the doctor's office. You know what I mean? You're going through all this other shit, got these, I'm going through the sweats, like all this sort of stuff of menopause, and just being like, also, like, I've completely lost interest in having sex where I have had it before. And, you've been, your whole life thinking or made to think that your desire to have sex is a problem somehow, and you don't even worry about, you don't even know that your sex drive could and should be higher. You know what I mean? And so it's not even, this is one of those situations, I think, where in addition to informing, women about this as an option, as providers, we have to really take it upon ourselves to engage in these conversations, which people may not think to engage in, may not think they have the right to engage in.
Yeah. Do you, for you guys, how often did you have the sex discussion with patients? Do you ever have that with your practice, or not really, right? It's not
I
gonna
did
happen.
not
And
have
I
a
have
lot
questions
of.
for any
You have
ENT
questions
who.
from your patients? I feel like I got a
Yeah,
lot of
no, in
questions.
ENT,
No,
we're not
I have
getting
questions
a
for the ENT
lot.
doctors who are talking about sex with their patients.
Yeah.
That should be a lawsuit.
The
waiting to happen.
closest we got was discussing HPV,
Okay, that's fair.
as regards cancer risk and stuff
Sure.
like that. But
Well,
but
discussing,
that,
like, oral
even
sex
that,
and things
like,
like
we
that?
didn't have to
Yeah,
get into like the realness.
For family medicine, for primary care, we make it part of the standard rubric and completely take any kind of mustard out of the comment. It's just like smoking, alcohol, sex, and just like make it one of the list items, and just really just strip away.
You don't
any
need
kind
to be
of
building up
comments.
to it. That makes
Exactly.
it weird for everybody.
Yeah, that's unpleasant for all. No, but I agree with Ryan's point a lot in terms of when we look at like marketing. Yes, hopefully the word gets out. People start buying it. Women drive economies. Like we saw that there's like the
Yep,
Stanley Cup
100%.
effect. And so I'm very happy to be a woman in a time where the cure for endometriosis or like menopause is not to get sent to the sea. Although, like, also me and Colin joke sometimes, like, oh, that sounds good. Like, I'm acting up. Do you want to send me
To the
out to the
ocean.
coast? Like, that's what I'm saying. And you get to sit at the coast and watch the water. Like, that was a treatment for all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Pros and cons.
not a bad way to go, guys. The thing is just on the rolling sea, being a woman sent out to.
No, they would just be like, oh, mom was on like a sailing trip all summer and she was just like sitting on the coast, unmedicated, just like staring at the water.
Just send them off.
Writhing in pain. Yeah.
It's a kinder asylum. I like that. I like that a lot. All right. Well, guys, I like this discussion. I think this is a public service that we're providing by sharing this information with our tens of thousands of followers at this point. And go out there and be sexy, guys, men and women, whatever gender you are, you should feel sexy throughout your life. Okay, it's not just a young person's game. If you out there, you in your 60s, you're feeling good and you're feeling hungry, go out and get you a snack. The final segment is it's just one cool thing. And I think this is a segment I'm stealing from one of my favorite podcasts, is a screenwriting podcast, has nothing to do with screenwriting. It's just like one cool thing that we want to share with folks that we wish, more people knew about. And so, just something recent that we think is really cool. So let's see. I can start to give you guys a second to think. My one cool thing right now is, and I'm sure I'm far from the only person who thinks this is cool, but there's this album by this artist named Rosalia called Lux. She is a massive, massive deal. She's from Spain, and she's been around. She's won a bunch of Grammys, American Grammys, Latin Grammys, like all this sort of stuff. And I've never listened to her stuff before. A lot of it is like flamenco influenced, and she has like a reggaeton album, which is really dope. But this one is kind of just has live orchestration and like very classical music influence, but also with kind of the modern driving beats and like some of the flamenco influence. And it's really, really beautiful musically. And I don't understand what she's saying, but I feel like I'm like there for the emotional journey of this. And what she's actually saying is like really, really good. It's like, apparently it's like kind of about the journeys of these like women saints over the course of time. Like she studied, these stories of these women who are like really powerful in like religious, circles, and it's kind of telling their stories through these songs. And it's so disgustingly beautiful, and so I would recommend folks find that album.
What is the name of it again?
It's called Lux, Lux.
Lux. It's almost better sometimes when you hear something like that musically and you don't know what it's about, but it's still moving you. Like you guys might have heard the Wyclef album Carnival from the late 90s, and there's a song called Yele. I don't speak Haitian
I
Creole.
know
It's my
that one too,
favorite
Ryan.
song.
Twins.
It's my favorite
once
song on the
again.
album.
Yes.
And I don't know what it's
beautiful.
about. And I don't care. It's amazing. Anyway, I'll have to take a listen to Lux.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing.
Yes. All right. Who's ready?
Frances May, you got one?
Yeah, I'll go real quick. It's not as like beautiful or insightful as Tony's. Obviously, you guys have like one hive brain, and I feel like I'm just chilling over here by myself at the 100th percentile. Like, don't mind me.
It's not a bad place to be.
But I will say, recently we made some new friends. We love them. They are an older couple, and they do travel a lot. We're hearing about some of their recent trips, an upcoming trip like for her birthday. Basically, they will go to Europe together, maybe spend like a week together, kind of with family, put in family time. And she's like, and then I will just go to Paris for maybe like another month.
Whoa.
And she is giving, like, this is clearly just something that they do. They've worked it out. It works for them. She's giving Whoopi Goldberg's I Don't Want a Man in My House.
Yes.
And honestly, I'm here for it. I think that's very
Awesome.
cool. I think it's very chic.
Colin.
Shout out to Colin. I love Colin.
Colin's fine.
Colin's doing fine. You guys don't need to worry about Colin. And I love him. And I don't like Colin's the dream roommate. I'm in that scenario. I'm the nightmare who just like is kind of a slob at home and again needs like a lot of attention and cleanup and stuff like that. Colin is a dream roommate. I think anyone who's lived with him would say that. But I really like, especially with some of my like older couple friends, like they're doing this like very progressive stuff. Vacations don't have to like look one kind of way.
That's
I'm a
amazing.
big believer in solo travels. It's not a comment on how much I love traveling with Colin. We've seen a lot of the world together.
Sure.
Colin is beholden to a PTO schedule though, and I'm not.
Yeah.
And so do I have to,
like,
is the woman allowed to go out without the man? I say yes.
And still
still
be
up
respectful.
for debate.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
what about her chastity?
Yeah, you can do well solo traveling, Frances May. Tony, you're a good solo traveler, or you prefer a companion?
I haven't had the opportunity to do enough traveling.
Okay. Yeah.
If I were to do any traveling, I would do it with my partner. This point, and leave the kids at an orphanage.
To be decided whether you come back to the orphanage, right?
Yeah, orphanage or kennel, I don't know. But
I think it's I love solo travel, even though in the same way, like sometimes people think it's weird when I watch movies alone, like in a movie theater. I love watching a movie alone. I don't have to worry about other people being entertained or anything like that. And that same philosophy goes for traveling, where it's not just hedonistic. I'm not doing crazy stuff like I'll just sit in a cafe, but I don't have to worry, is this entertaining to the other person? I genuinely love solo travel. It gets lonely if you do it for a long time, but it's a completely different experience. I've been to places both with my wife and with my family, and then on my own, and I love them for completely different reasons. So,
Agreed.
If your friends have inspired you, Frances, I'm very curious if you're going to start using that vacation schedule. It sounds interesting.
Well, yeah, Colin was there. I like elbowed him really hard. I was like, "You're hearing this, right?" They started it, and it's contagious. I mean, I am sitting hedonistically in the cafe. Like, if you guys are picturing me on my solo travels, that's what I'm doing.
Sure,
can be
that's
both.
amazing. All right, what's your cool thing, Ryan?
You guys have some really personal things. This is personal to me, even though it doesn't sound like it. It sounds very impersonal. So I love hearing about the origins of expressions. Okay, so letterpress, traditional letterpress used to be an industry. Now it's more like a specialty craft. And how do you do this? You line up these little metal ingots that have letters on them onto a row to make full words. Okay, and then you line them with ink. You press it onto paper, and then you print a page.
Careful,
now,
Ryan. They don't like to learn stuff on this podcast.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'll make this quick. I'll make this really, really quick. When printers were trying to shorten the time to line up all these words, they realized that certain words were used often, and certain sets of words were used often. So of the, in the, or in. And so they would print these all together or make these all together, and those together are called stereotypes. That's the definition of a stereotype. And when you put the press onto the paper, the machine, these big machines, they're the size of a room. When you press them down, the French sound for when you press it down is called a cliché. Okay, that's the sound it makes. Okay, so this is the origin of these words.
Wow.
And, you know,
Yes.
both of them have really bad connotations. But, you know, if you like traditional letterpress, if you like these kind of things, it's really fun. I think it's a really, really fun idea.
Wow. I loved learning that.
I
Well
love that.
done.
Yeah, no,
Good,
I
quick
enjoyed that
lesson.
too.
I'm here for that. I was just like, oh
note the
no. I
amount
was
of
like, how
time that
deep?
the lesson took to
Yeah.
give.
I know. That's why
My
I don't
salty
teach
friend.
shit anymore. Damn it.
I
I was
like your
like,
lessons. I like wandering
I was
lessons
like,
too.
oh, I'm down for a deep dive on the history of
Tony
the
was
letterpress,
like,
but the other people
letterpress. No,
might
he
not
just-
be ready for that.
That's super interesting.
Ungrateful
Wait, and I'm
bitch.
trying to
But
think.
yeah.
Is that an onomatopoeia?
It
Or
is, yeah. It's an onomatopoeia sound in French, cliché.
I have
And,
never
Cliché.
gotten to use that organically.
Oh,
This is a big
yeah,
day
yeah.
for me.
That rocks.
Yeah, so drop that knowledge. You're at a dinner party,
Cliché.
drop it, and then walk away. Never talk to the person again. Be like, holy shit, who was that? Just, that's my
Awesome.
piece of advice for you guys, yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. I can't think of a better way to wrap this up. That's another successful and legendary episode of Social Rounds. Please, Francis May, cliché us out.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate us 5 stars, leave us a review, and check out our website, Hippocratic-Collective, for more content and shows like this. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.